Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Koki Creative. My name is Elena, and today we are building a castle, thanks to EA. So thank you, EA, for the Castle Estate game code. We are building the Von Haunt Castle, and this is built in Windenburg, a world that comes with Get Together, and I built this on the Von Haunt estate lot, and it's really hard for me to say Von Haunt. So if I struggle saying that throughout the speed build, I'm just going to try to avoid saying it, but just know that it's going to sound Von Honk. I keep saying Von Honk. Anyway, let's get into this. For the shape of the castle, I wanted it to be symmetrical because what's on one side is on the other, so it was half of the thinking. At least that's kind of what I thought when making this build. So I have two large circular towers in the back, and then four octagon ones in the front that run all the way up. So they're like 4 stories high. I can't exactly remember, but I am aware that this sort of looks like Mickey Mouse. I did have that in the back of my mind when I was building this, and I'm like, okay, I know someone's going to comment that it looks like Mickey Mouse. And I've already posted this on Instagram and TikTok, and there wasn't that many comments, but there were a few. And that's not like a bad or good thing. It's just sort of like a thing that I figured I'd mention before other people are like, hey, that kind of looks like Mickey Mouse. Is that intentional? No, it was not intentional. But that's just how it is. And I went for a very fairy tale look at first. That's kind of what you're seeing here. There's a lot of pillars, but that end's changing later. I don't mean to say pillars. I mean like sharp, pointy roofs. Maybe there is a better word for that, but yeah, the sharp, pointy roofs. I end up making a few more like tops to those so people can go up there and view from the top. But anyway, let me talk a little bit more about this. So it costs 543,000 simoleons, and I put a ton of suit of armors in this. Like, if you're aware, it's a base game item, and it costs about 8,000 simoleons, so I swear half of that cost is probably just suits of armor throughout this. But I mean, it's supposed to be medieval, so I figured that's what we got. And I only used 2 packs. I mean, obviously base game, that's sort of a given, but I used Get Together and then the Castle Estate kit. And I was only going to use the Castle Estate kit at first, but let me talk to you about this lot. As you can see, it's a beautiful lot. If you are not familiar with this lot, maybe you don't have Get Together, maybe you just don't go to this lot that often because it's pointless. Practically, there's not much to do there except for play chess with knights. That might not make sense if you haven't been here. But it is a lot that's, well, first of all, it's called the Chalet Gardens, and you can't just live on this lot. It's sort of locked. There's a couple of lots that are locked. That's kind of hard to say, because they are for a specific purpose. Like in a couple of the other worlds, of course, I can't think of any at the top of my head. But like if you go to Sylvan Glade, for example, that's the hidden world in Willow Creek. You can't live there. It can't be a residential lot. It's always going to be Sylvan Glade. So this one is going to be this. And somehow in my game, it switched to generic. So when you place this, it might be generic. I think the reason for that is because when I uploaded it to the gallery, it just uploaded as generic. But let me get back to this build really quick. Let me talk to you about what I'm doing. Usually I cut a lot of this stuff out of my speed builds when I'm using tool mod, but I decided to keep a lot of it in. I'm only going 4 speed right now, and usually I speed it up at least like 6. So I wanted to slow it down a bit, kind of show people what I'm doing, because like this is... If you don't know what a tool mod is, you're probably like, is she even playing The Sims right now? What is this? Yeah. So the tool mod, and I swear I'll get back to talking about this a lot in just a moment. It's just there's so many thoughts running through my head, and I want to get them all out. So the rocks, using tool mod to move them around because they kind of jump around. Anything with landscaping and you're using the terrain tool to lift and lower, it's going to jump around because that object wants to be flat. And when it's on a curved plane, I don't know what to call it, when I'm by this moat that I made, the rocks aren't going to go down into the ground, they're going to float. So I use tool mod to get them in the ground, to move them around a little bit easier. And it is a little intimidating at first if you are out there and you're like, maybe I want to try the tool mod, maybe I want to download it. I say yes, please do. Start out simple though, because it's very overwhelming at first. There's a lot of things you can do with tool mod, but it it's actually a fabulous tool, and I've been using it for a couple of years now. So if it looks like, oh my gosh, it's because I've practiced a lot with it, and I was not like this when I first got it, or even a year into getting it. I'm still learning new things that you can do with Tumon. All right, let me go back to my original thought that I never finished earlier, because I just got back from a lunch break and was listening back to this and realized I never quite answered that. The reason why I'm also using Get Together is because of this lot. I know I talked about this, but it is in Windenburg, and Windenburg comes with the Get Together pack. And Get Together is a fabulous pack. It is the second expansion pack that came out, and it came out in 2015. So you'd think that it wouldn't be as good as the ones that have come out today, but it stands up to those. It's comes with the group system, so you can go create groups with people, and you can have up to 8 people in your group, and there's a different like little achievements you can get. You can get different like creative buffs and skill gain points while in this group. And this lot in particular, this is where the people, like the Knights of whatever, I can't remember what that group is called, but they dress up as knights and they go here to play chess. So chess is a really big part of this castle, and I have a little backstory, but I'll talk to you about that a little bit later when we're doing the interior and I need something to talk about. Now, leading into what I was talking about, this is a special lot type because of that. And the lore here is pretty interesting. They have these plaques throughout the house that you can read, and it'll tell you a little bit about that part of the house. And I've known about these plaques since I have the pack back in 2015, but I've never actually taken the time to read them. I would like read one, and I would kind of look up at the bubble at the top right, and I'd be like, okay, cool. And then I would like make it go away. So for this speed build, I decided, why not read what this build is actually about? I knew the gist of it, okay? I knew that there was a couple who had died in the house and they still haunted it. I knew it was haunted. That's about all I knew. And I did create my own story for this castle, but I do feel like the story that comes with the pack actually kind of fits too, so do what you want with it in your mind. And if you do place this castle on this lot, there will be ghosts of these people. I'll try to tell you a little bit more as we go through this build, but I do want to talk a little bit about what we've got so far, because I go so fast when making the shape of the build, like the shell. I can just whip through that, and I always realize because we're 7 minutes in, and there's so much I want to talk to you about this build, and I haven't talked to you enough about what I'm actually doing here. So yes, we are here actually playing around with the roofs, and I think I get rid of the spiky roofs in the back a little bit later, but anyway, I want to talk about the moat and the landscaping. I did talk to you a little about tool mod earlier, and I kind of went off on a little tangent about that, but the moat, I knew that I wanted to put a moat in this build, and I also wanted to be a little bit of a bigger build. It's 40 by 30 lot. Yeah, 40 by 30 lots. So it's not huge, but it's not small. But I didn't want a super small castle. I really did want to put something there that when you're out on the map, you look at it and it at least meets what the original build level looked like. Because that build isn't bad. I think it's a perfectly fine looking estate. So I really wanted to do this justice for what I had, because some people are small lot builders, and usually I do love me a small lot, but when I'm doing something this size, I feel like I'm really squeezing in here, and you can see the moat is going right up to the edge, and so there's some straight lines in there, so when you're in gameplay mode and the white outline of the lot isn't there, it might look a little aggressively straight right there, but I think I do put a couple more rocks. I try to make it look a little bit more natural. But I did want a moat. That was like the vision I had for this. Like a castle with a moat. I went to Italy this summer, and that was so inspiring for this because I have never been around so many medieval castles. I did go to Ireland, got married in Ireland, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit later because I do want to recreate that, like castle ruins that I got married in. It was so pretty, but I've been to these places and walked through castles. Whenever we can, we do like a little castle tour. So I try to use inspiration from that in this build, but all the ones that I went through, they're all so different, and they're not laid out the way I would have laid this out. And oh my gosh, let me point this out here. I am struggling with the shape of this room because I'm not going to say it, but it looked questionable. I'm not going to say it, but the shape of this like front room here, I was like, I can't post that in a floor plan. I know someone's going to point out the interesting shape of that room. So I take away the walls, or I move it back a little bit so that way it doesn't look like two round things and a long room. One time I made a pond that was also a questionable shape, which I didn't mean to. It's just ponds, I like them to be wavy, and sometimes the shape looks a certain way, and a couple people were calling it an eggplant pond. But anyway, what I was talking about earlier, I was trying to go back and think about all the tours we went on and how they decorated the castles, and just like this build, it's supposed to be one that people go visit and try to go take a step back through time and see what it was like to live back then. But it's not like gonna have all the stuff an old castle would have. It would still have a modern bathroom because they have to have a place for these Sims to go to the bathroom. So I just set it up more like that. There are some modern things and that's why, but I did try to keep it as like authentic as I could. And another thing, I would have loved to have a giant spiral staircase in one of the large circular pillars in the back, but I couldn't do that because we don't have spiral staircases. I considered making a fake one, but then I just thought I could use that space for other things because this is fully functional, and always my intention to make my builds fully functional. Sometimes I do make like these fake things every so often that are not necessary. Like let's say I did make a fake staircase. I would still have an alternative staircase for your Sims to go up and down and throughout the whole build, but I would still have one maybe just for fun, just for funsies. And so I just decided not to do that. I really did contemplate it, but decided not to. I also did a lot of pops of red throughout this build. I just like when I think of medieval times and stuff, red comes to mind. I'm not sure. You just see it a lot. I know they had other colors. There's flags, but I just really was feeling red for this, and I put these knights, these suits of armor. I don't really know what it's called in the catalog, but I put them in the pillars, or I keep calling them pillars, no, the little towers. I only put them in the bottom ones. I was considering putting them on every single level, but I was like, that's just gonna be overkill. So I just put them in the bottom. I sized them up like 2 or 3, something like that, and I put these arches as windows so you can really see inside. And I cut it out here, but I do change the color to red, the lighting red. So you'll see it red right here, but I end up changing it back to just clear white because it just looked better during the day and night. Like the nights were a little bit more illuminated when I had that, and I really wanted to be impactful because this was going back to what I was talking about again earlier when we were in Italy. One of the things that I thought was just so cool was the way that they lit up these towns, like these old little medieval cities. They were all within walls and they would have these really cool, colorful lights. I wanted to do a little bit of that, like have fun with the lights. But yeah, no, I just completely took away that idea because it wasn't looking the way I wanted it to. And I also am using, all this is not the kit yet. This is just Get Together and base game. And the reason why I decided to use this Get Together brick on the exterior, even though I fully wanted like to switch it out when I got the kit. But I wanted to show if, let's say, someone doesn't get the kit and they still want to build a castle. Here's an idea for an exterior. These bricks or stone walls that come with Get Together are pretty much made for castles. It's great. I've used them before. And Get Together, another reason why I chose that is it has some of the best like castle items or anything in that genre. It's got a medieval twist to it. It's Tudor style. It's in an old town. So obviously if I was going to choose one pack to assist with my castle, it's going to be Get Together. So this is the bathroom, and yes, it is a full bathroom. Like I was saying, feel like I said that 50 times. But like I was mentioning earlier, I did put some modern appliances in here. So yes, it has a nice toilet, but I still wanted to have like an old clawfoot tub. Like even if it is a new clawfoot tub, it's trying to at least fit this aesthetic a little bit. And I always like want to overclutter bathrooms in public restaurants, or not restaurants, wow, in just public restrooms. When I tell you my brain is just not working this week, it just, best believe me. I don't know why I chose to do a voiceover today, but yeah, I always end up over cluttering it because it's not like many restrooms in public places are super cluttered, but you know, sometimes they are. I do make note of a good bathroom when I have to go in a place because I appreciate a place that puts work into their bathrooms. All right, so here I'm in the library, and I like the way this turned out. In another build, I want to do something similar to this, but a little bit more thought out, because I didn't have a vision for this. I was just like, all right, what if I put shelves up? Okay, that looks cool. It's just not enough. What if I use these? I use these debug wood pillars here on the ends, and then eventually I put one in the middle because I thought, would those books be able to hold with those little tiny shelves against a stone wall? How are they in the wall? I started getting to thinking, and I'm like, I don't know if this is possible in real life, which, I mean, most of the stuff in my builds probably aren't. Well, not most, but I don't know if all of my builds are up to code, if they were real, but I do try to at least think of some things. Like, I have had some floating builds, but that's more of like a creative reason, not anything else. But oh my God, see, this is what I'm talking about. I get lost in my train of thought. Maybe that's entertaining, or maybe it's not at all. But this part takes a while, and that's why I did cut out a little bit. So what I do when I have moments like these where I need to use a ton of clutter, I first go through the catalog and I will pull out everything that I feel like might fit the look I'm going for. Maybe just like I'm looking for gold. But I do try to keep like at least an aesthetic in mind. This one is just, you know, old medieval. So, but with a few extra trinkets in here because, you know, what are you going to do? And we go back to that later. So that, I started the library and I'm like, I am not going to finish this right now. I'm going to finish this after I finish the exterior. I usually do this. I'll make a little bit of the I make a little bit of the interior. I do the floor plan, and then I decide what rooms are what. I'll put a little bit of each item in that room just so I don't forget. Like, oh, the bathroom is so easy to quickly build. Let me just put a sink and toilet and stuff in there. In the kitchen, there's a fridge, and dining room, there's a table. And then sometimes I get kind of inspired while I'm in that room, and then I start building it before I finish the exterior, because I really have no one way of building something. It's different every single time. It depends on my mood. It depends on the day. It depends on the build. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to build, or sometimes I'm really in the mood to build. Okay, but now I'm putting ivy on the wall. The only place I have ivy on the exterior of this is the two large towers in the back, and I just felt like those would look nice with ivy. I could have put it everywhere, I could have, but I really just wanted to stick it to the back, mostly because when you're playing and you are placing ivy the way that I am, by holding Alt and moving it around, and overlapping stories, like the first story to the second story, when you have half walls or your walls are down, sometimes the ivy will stay floating in the air. Like, it's supposed to disappear when you put walls down or whatever, but if you place it kind of strange by holding Alt, and times it remains floating and it gets in the player's way. Well, now I'm to the point where I got the kit and I start replacing the items, and the first thing I had to add was a door, because none of the doors that I was using before, because I was like, I just want a placeholder, none of them were doing this build what I wanted it to do. The kit took this build from looking like a mini golf course to an actual medieval castle, so I was really happy about that. I'm still not quite to the point. I'm playing around with the swatches, and I haven't even, in my own game, looked at every single one of the swatches. I'm pretty sure there's 18 different wall swatches. There might only be one wall, but still 18 swatches in that. You kind of get, it feels like multiple because it's all different stone colors, and I really like that because sometimes I want this like a warm brown stone, or I want, in this case, a weathered gray stone. That's really what I was imagining for this. So I use this like medium gray. I added the fences to the top of the build so that way it kind of looks like little watchtowers or something like that. I end up putting flags at the top there too, so that's kind of fun. I don't do that quite yet. And right now I'm also just playing around with everything. This is what I usually do when I first get something new. I'll go into build by, and with the filters, I'll just put on what the new thing is, and then I'll go through everything and I start placing them and seeing what I like, what I don't like. Usually I like anything because I build all styles, even styles I don't like. So let's say I hate a chair, it's so ugly, but it's perfect for this one place. I'm happy to have it. Yeah, some people hate kits. I get it. It's like you can download CC for what you're getting for free, all that stuff. But what I do like is it does give players, like console players, something new because they can't download CC. Also, I'm a PC player. I play with CC, but there's something about in-game content for me that I like because I know I don't have to update it. I know I'll never, nothing will happen with it. And also that's mostly for like mods where you have to like worry about the updating. But I mean, I love CC. I use CC all the time, but I just really like having more things, especially because I like to upload my stuff to the gallery CC free. And so it just gives me more to play around with. And I'm also a collector. So even if I hated a pack, I'd be like, God damn it, I still have to get it. But now we're decorating the interior, and nothing in the pack is like furniture or anything like that. It's mostly build items, it's totally fine. I knew that it wasn't going to come with any furniture before I got it, and so I was aware, and it wasn't like it was disappointing. I kind of now wish that we had a whole entire medieval pack. I do have Sims 3 medieval. I got it a couple years ago for my birthday. I treated myself, and like years into the Sims 4. This isn't something I played because I played Sims 3 like you don't even know. Like I did not get enough sleep in high school from working, school, and Sims. Like I don't know how I'm alive today, but the Sims got me through it. And I played it a lot, but I never had the time to play Sims 3 medieval because of how much there was to do in The Sims 3. And it's kind of weird to think that was only 4 years, and The Sims 4 has already doubled the time that Sims 3 was around. Just crazy. But I like being able to do new things, and I think like Sims 4 medieval, like I don't know if it would be a separate game. I kind of want it to be an expansion, kind of like how Strangerville is a story you can play through, and maybe they could make something like that, because Sims 2 like Castaway was so fun. But what if there was a way, because they have Journey to Batuu, like if we could do that, why don't we do something fun, like make it a destination you play through like a story. My biggest problem with Batuu is not what a lot of people's problem with Batuu is. I mean, I'm not the only person with this feeling, but it was mostly like clunky playthrough. And I've played Jedi Survivor, who EA makes, and it's really freaking good. Like it's a really great game. And so playing that, I just was hoping for a little bit more, because I'm like, you guys already have made Star Wars games. But this is not 2020 or whatever year this came out. This is 2024. We're over it. And we are here now with this. And, okay, wait, now I'm going to take it back to the year 2000. And what I love about Sims 1, and maybe this isn't 2000, maybe this is like after Superstar came out, Making Magic, and a Hot Date even kind of had it. Like, there was a lot more mini games through the game. Like if you are in Superstar, you want to become famous, you are about to walk the runway, it's going to do like a mini game where you pick out of 3 different, like I want to run down the catwalk energetically sexy and like something else, and you have to pick the right combination, and it gives you 3 tries, and so you can like whittle it down to find the perfect combination. It keeps me so engaged in the game, in the story. Like in Making Magic, if you're dueling someone and they use red wave, you have to use yellow brimstone or white lightning, or else they'll defeat you, and you have 4 rounds, and you can either tie or one person wins or loses. And I just love that it keeps me engaged, and there's like music that goes along with it, and it's like, whoa, how exciting. But in The Sims 4, when you're dueling, yeah, the animations are really cool, but it's like, it's just sort of by chance, and there are a couple factors. Like if you're charged up, your sim is more likely to win, or if they're like a higher level spellcaster, they're more likely to win. But it's like, you just set it and watch it. Like I loved being able to sit there and then kind of feel like I was a part of that fight. Like my knowledge to know how to beat them, it played a role, and it felt like I was doing something. And so if I ever got to design The Sims, or like create like a pack or anything like that, that's something I would highly suggest. And I would also suggest to be able to like turn it on and off if you want more of a like leisurely gameplay. Wow, that was a tangent I did not mean to go down. But what I was just trying to say is that like something like medieval would be really fun. Some sort of like time travel, because they had Sims 3 into the future. Why couldn't we have like something that takes you into the past and play a little bit like that? Sims 3 is so fun. I actually just played it like 2 nights ago because I was kind of in the mood to do something a little bit different. Let me go back to this build. I've been just talking about everything except for this for a while. I'm working on the moat, and because this moat is so skinny, it was really hard to get these green, like algae, all this stuff, from like make it not float. I didn't want it to float because it was too large to place. And like I was talking about earlier, with lumpy landscaping, the item is going to choose the highest point to clip to, because it's not going to go into the ground. Like the game is not going to let an item really like go into the ground. So I had to use the tool mod to lower those items so that they were more flush with the water, made it look a little bit more realistic. I also put 2 alligators in the water because I'm like, if I have a moat, then I have to have alligators, obviously. So inside the castle, I wanted a tiny reading room for my sim that I created for this. And so her name is Princess Rose Von Haunt. I kind of, when I make up stories in my head when I'm building, they're very, like, they change so much. I go, oh, she's like this. And they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe she's more like that. So when I tell the story, it's going to change every single time. It's just like what I feel until it actually happens. And I probably won't play through this, but, you know, it's just, it helps me. It doesn't even help me build. It's just something that happens naturally when I build. I just start like telling a story to myself. I'm like, oh, this is where she sits and reads her book, and she looks out the window and she imagines the things that are happening in her book out the window, like very Belle. So this is the room she does that, where she reads. And a little bit more about her, because I wanted her to have like a nice little backstory. And so Princess Rose is a single woman, and she was never interested in marriage, and I wanted her to be her own happily ever after. I have no problem with love stories. I absolutely love love stories. I love rom-coms. I love a happy ending. And this is her own story. This is her own happy ending. And she loves reading. She loves chess too. Huge chess fan. So, and she also loved being alone. And the reason why I like doing that is because I love being alone. And sometimes people think, oh, want company right now? Like, no, I love my own company. I love it. I absolutely love being alone. So I wanted a sim that reflected that, because like, to show it in a very positive light. She was not a sad woman at all. She freaking loved her life. She did everything she wanted to do in her own time, very leisurely. She was very wealthy, so she didn't have to work. And so once she passed away, in her will gave the castle to the city, because she also wanted to do good. And she wanted this castle to become a community center for anyone to come and play. And so this kind of leads into the chess thing, because I knew that the knights would come here and play chess. I wanted it to still like tie into what the game already would have going on in this lot. So another thing about Rose is that she loves flowers, so there's going to be a lot of different flowers throughout this build, and I love using flowers to decorate. I feel like I'm always searching for something to put in that empty corner or that wall, and sometimes you just gotta use flowers. or scissors. So these scissors were not fun to move around with the tool mod because they are on a weird angle. So they weren't just like, oh, rotate it 90 degrees on this axis and then 90 degrees on that one. Tool mod, the reason why I cut out a lot of me using tool mod is because I am a little insecure about people seeing my process because it is messy. And I would love to be that person that would be like, I know I need to rotate this 32 degrees and it will be perfect. No, I'm like, oh, 32 degrees. Oops, the wrong way. Let me go back and then let me do 50. Nope, that's too much. It's like, it's just chaotic, and I just for some reason believe that everyone out there is like just naturally good at it. But then I had this realization that I don't think most people know exactly what degree to rotate their objects with the tool mod on. So let me show them that they're not alone. So in the back, it was bugging me that there was no way to get from that little, I don't want to call it island, but that little plot of land and go to the mainland. So I was like, okay, I'll put another bridge here. Even though it was kind of cute just to have it its own little, I want to call it island, but its own little spit of land. But I just figured it's going to be really annoying if you're playing and your sim is back there. It's just nice to have two exits because you get stuck in a build. You just want to go home and there's a ton of people at one of the entrances and you're like, okay, let me just go back. Your sim has to walk around. What I'm saying is I try to make it as easy for gameplay as possible. And I know how slow sims can be sometimes. They get caught doing their own thing. I started playing a new save game last night and I decided to put full autonomy on. I usually play with autonomy off because I want full control, but I was like, you know what? Take the wheels. Let's see what happens. These guys are just like, they're so stupid sometimes. Now I remember why I turned the autonomy off. You're like, you're proving my point, okay? I want to give you free will here, guys, okay? But you're doing push-ups when you're starving, and I need you to stay alive. You have a job. But let me talk about what I'm building here. You're just going to get a crazy voiceover today. I feel like that's what I say every single time. But this is the little artist corner, and what is really cool is that when I was doing my research just a moment ago about the actual lore, is that the husband, who unfortunately died in a fire here, he loved to paint, so that really worked. And then I can't remember who likes chess, but there was something about chess too. See, I just immediately forget. I will put a link in the description to exactly what the story is, but I'll give you the spark notes of what I can remember. I had it up on my computer just a moment ago, but I must have closed out of it. So what I remember is in 1889 or 1898, doesn't really matter, there was a fire and that unfortunately killed the two residents of this house, and they ended up rebuilding it and then turning it into a place where you can go and see. And the whole kind of joke of it is that the owners are like, no, it's not haunted. You're not gonna be scared here. There might be ghosts, but that's just you maybe making that up. But it's really haunted, so you're gonna see ghosts while you're here. And they closed off, like they used to do weddings and honeymoons, stayovers, but they've had to close that off because of the hauntings. But they say because they blame the honeymoon couples or whatever. So because not because I read this, but while reading that, seeing it mentioned weddings, I thought it was really cool because there might be a wedding arch somewhere in the maze. They also mentioned the maze a lot too. I'm sorry, my spark notes are all over the place. If you were using these spark notes to make a book report, you would fail. I am so sorry. But the maze is a really big part in the little story, and the maze is actually really cool. It could be a great place to take some screenshots or some pictures of your wedding. So that is why I added that wedding area upstairs, and it's in one of the circular towers, so it's really small. It's not a huge ceremony place, but I wanted it to be like a little intimate spot because I'm pretty sure, and I'm probably like 75% sure that I'm wrong with this, but there might be another wedding arch out in the maze area, but again, I might be wrong. So I did add that one in the castle. I also added a bar and a little reception spot, like really close to that wedding arch, so that way you can just like move the party over next door and just keep the good times rolling. I do have a kitchen too, so that way your sim can like cook, make cakes and all that stuff. I have had a couple different weddings. I mean, I usually just elope immediately in The Sims. I'm talking about The Sims, not in real life. And even though I did, my husband and I did elope. It was just him and I. It was great. It was like no pressure, no worries. So my Sims do that too. But I do want to make more spaces, more community lots that my Sims can go get married at, because I would still like, even if they are eloping, I would still like them to have a little arch. I want to have them a little moment. Just for themselves. Sometimes I do take screenshots if it's Sims I really like. I'm like, oh, they're getting married, so cute. And so that's why I added a wedding arch. And sometimes there will be like a restaurant. I'll add a wedding arch. So a lot of my community lots, I shouldn't say a lot, I would say like 20% of my community lots have some sort of like wedding option. It's just nice to have. And I have a couple of actual just like wedding lots. I can't remember. Wedding ceremony lots, I think they're called. Because, again, it's nice to have a space that your Sims can get married. So, here we are in the kitchen. This is the only room that doesn't have a stone floor. It's just a little fun fact. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. But I did want to use this black and white checkered floor because it's a floor I don't get to use that often. And I just really felt like it fits this build. And the kitchen isn't huge. And I did do that intentionally because older kitchens tend to not be like huge. What does bother me though is the only way to get to the dining room is you have to go through the kitchen, and I don't think they would have that in a build like this, because they wouldn't want the people, like let's say you're like a king, you're not going to walk through the kitchen to go to your dining room. But for the floor plan that I made, I wanted the bathroom to be where the entrance of the dining room should have been, and I was like, you know what, who cares? Maybe a few people would notice it, but it just it only minorly bothers me, and not enough for me to actually go out of my way and change it. I also made a couple of my own like little furniture pieces out of these cabinets, and I didn't overclutter a lot of this, and I was saying that earlier about just kind of keeping it nice and simple. And I even thought, like, why would there be like a ton of stuff in the dining room? I'm just gonna put a few other like china cabinets and other things like that. I don't know. I put so many suits of armor. I'm like, suit of armor. It was my plant. I didn't put a ton of plants in this, as I say when there's a plant right there, but I mean, compared to my usual plant usage, this is like nothing. Oh, now it's time for me to tackle the library. Oh no, I have to do the ceiling first. And this is something, because it is so new, painting the ceiling, that feature I tend to forget about, but luckily I don't think I've forgotten before uploading. I'm trying to do this new thing where I make like a checklist, like a quality assurance checklist before uploading to the gallery. Like, I obviously will play test it, but sometimes I will have a rogue wallpaper piece on the wrong spot because I just like hit shift and it didn't get all the walls or something like that, or I'll forget the ceiling, and like, because that's new. I mean, I don't remember to paint the ceiling all the time, but it does make a difference when I'm doing screenshots, because, you know, sometimes I'll download my own build, just be like, I want to play in this, and then I realize I did something stupid, and I'm like, oh crap. Like, it's not a huge deal. People can easily fix the things that I like quote quote mess up, but you know, I just want it to look nice. So I want to note something here before this goes away. But the reason why I put the speaker on a little box before, and not just like using the 9 key to lift it up, is because your Sims can't dance to a stereo that isn't placed properly. Maybe they fixed it, I don't know. But the last time I've checked, if you raise it by the 9 key, your Sims are like, I don't know how to interact with this noise. It's floating. It's like, okay, guys, okay, because they can watch TV. If you use the 9 key on a TV, does not matter. The Sims can watch it. No effect at all. But if it is something like a speaker they want to dance to, they might be able to listen to it. I don't know dance, but yeah, so that's why I always try to place it on an actual surface and not just use the 9 key to lift it up. And I need to double check on that because I know the last time I checked it did not work, and I was like, oh crap, all the builds that I've used the 9 key on with stereos that don't work. The layout of the living room is super weird. I'm calling the library the living room, but I'm using them interchangeably right now, so if I say one, I mean this room. So at first I was going to have these chairs facing the shelves, but then I realized like I want to put a fireplace in here because I just thought that would look nice. And also, talking back to the lore of the story, there's talk of a fireplace about like the guy throwing in some of his art. Again, spark notes of my memories of this. Yeah, so it does become winter in Windenburg, so I do like to have an option to keep your Sims nice, warm, and cozy, but it gets kind of weird. So when you walk into this room, you're going to be met with this like little living space, and then the library, the bookshelf behind. So a little weird, but another fun thing about building in circular, I don't think I haven't mentioned one thing yet, but building circular rooms and with circular rooms above the room you're in, it's super challenging. So you might notice that I get really close or really far away. Like I'm trying to find a spot where my mouse will work because it's all weird. I'm sorry, I wish I had better words, but yeah, I have to like zoom in to pick stuff up. But it is possible to still play in this. And if you're like, oh, it's unplayable, it is still playable. And these rooms are not going to be used that often unless if you decide to play in this and you're like, why can't I select the bed from here? Just zoom in a little bit. You got it. But if you don't want the trouble, then I'm sorry. I guess don't download this build. I just am so happy we have circular rooms because I've been wanting circle walls, rounded walls for years. I mean, it has never been in any of the Sims before. There are and have been rounded fences, which are fine. We could do some stuff with that, but I like that there's the option. I just cannot wait until it's fixed, or if it ever will get fixed. Not really quite sure. This is supposed to be also like the main bedroom. This is Rose's bedroom, Princess Rose's. So the other one's kind of like a guest room, but I figured it's always nice to have a guest room. I wanted at least 2 bedrooms too, because if someone does download this, I do like giving a second bedroom. I know when I'm playing and I have a 1-bedroom house, I might, like, now that I have Growing Together and people can stay over, it's like I get a call every week and someone's like, can I stay at your house? And it's like, I don't want to say no, because I'm like, okay, yeah, come stay over. And then they're sleeping in my bed and I had to buy a cot or something, which happened last night when I was playing. And I ended up buying a little cot for my friend to stay over. But we bonded. Okay, now she's my best friend and will be the maid of honor at my wedding. So maybe she'll get married here. I don't know. I'll have to take screenshots if that happens. She's not even engaged yet, so that'll be at least another day before that happens. So whenever I couldn't find anything to put in a corner, I said this earlier, a suit of armor. So I need to go around and count how many that I put in this build. There has to be at least 15. If there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's at least 15 in this build, but that's fine. Whenever I see the suit of armor, I don't know if anyone else thinks of this, but I think of like the pose player thing. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you've ever seen like online people post like cute pictures of the Sims posing really cute, and you know that's not an in-game pose, they're using poses. You can download it, and there's this teleporter thing that if you want to get your Sim to a certain spot. And so I love using the pose teleporter for just my own reasons too, not even for that. Sometimes we're like, that Sim is really annoying. I can either use the tool mod on Sims, which you can totally use tool mod on Sims. I sometimes will just like eat them out of the space. I'm like, yep, you're going to teleport way over there. Or you can just use the teleporter if you want to just like get them all in the house really quick, just like boom, boom, boom. Back to this castle. We are in the guest bedroom now. And this is, again, it's red. I love these beds. They're base game. I think they're very pretty. I don't use them that often because I don't usually build this kind of style. This like traditional style. I have no problem with it. It's just like we've had it since the beginning of Sims 4. So I've done it enough. I've done that enough. I go through these cycles of like styles that I like to build, and when Growing Together came out, I was building a ton of suburban homes, and when Eco Lifestyle came out, I built like so many container homes. It's just, you go through these cycles, and I probably will build another castle after this now that I feel a little bit more comfortable building castles. Like I said, this is my third I've ever completed. The first one I thought was so cool. I thought was so good. And then I recently looked at it, and you can really tell sometimes looking back at your old stuff when you get better, and it's a good feeling. It feels good to have improved over time, but I'm working on the save file, and I'm actually like putting it together right now. All the lots that I haven't finished, I'm just going to use what build is originally there, like in that neighborhood, in that world. I'll just leave them there and just replace the ones that I have. And I'm going to just release that. And then as I update it, as I build houses, I'll update that online. So that'll be out. I don't even want to give a good date, within the next 3 months, because right now I'm adding The Sims. And that's a whole nother story, because I like having connections. I want a cousin that lives in San Myshuno. I want your grandma to have moved to Sulani. I want stories. So placing the builds in the world takes some time. Great. But I think it's going to be more of like the story building and Sims placing that's going to like take up most of the time. Ooh, we're getting closer to the end of this video because we have just finished the bathroom. That's the second bathroom, which I kind of like. I decided to do something a little bit different by adding those 2 walls and putting the bathtub kind of in a little cubby space, which was completely unnecessary, but I just thought, ooh, something different for a bathroom. And I always like all my rooms to be a little bit different. And I have been doing less this year, and that's my goal, do less, because I was doing too much and not finishing enough. Because I would start things, I would be so busy, but I would never get to the finish line, because then I would start something new and always be working on something. I'm going to do less by doing one thing at a time, completing my things, and I think I'll end up doing more in the long run by doing less. So if that makes any sense. So this is the chess tournament room. This is where they have the annual chess tournament that has been going on for as long as Rose has been around, and she started it. Now the community comes together and they do it here, or the knights will come and do it here, because once you replace this, if you want to replace this, they, I think, will still keep coming to this lot, and this will be great for them. They'll love it. They'll go have a ton of fun climbing up all those stairs in that suit of armor that they wear, but they're Sims, so they can handle it. I'm at the point in this build where I start going from the interior to exterior, back and forth, because I start to kind of put the finishing touches on everything. Maybe I'll pop over to another room and add an item, because I'll find something in the catalog that I think will look really good in another room. So I added this fencing around the roof pieces here, and just a couple of spikes for the top of the roof. I'm sure there's an actual word for that, but you know, what can you do? So I'm finishing up these spaces here, and this is pretty much where most of the community will hang out. I put a couple of benches for Sims to sit on the outside, because I think it's like a beautiful view, and I can definitely see someone having like an event here, and having a view up at the top would be so nice, even though the wedding arch is in this like not windowless room, but very small windows. But it's still kind of cool, the idea of like getting married inside a medieval castle. And you know, if you can go to build mode while you're on this lot, you can move that wedding arch anywhere. That's kind of cool. When you are traveling with your sim to a community lot, you can go into build by at any point and just buy an arch or buy whatever items you want. I've done it many times. Especially I go to like a park, and I'll just start placing things around there that are like toddler stuff and etc., etc. But I have this 4th story that I do not have stairs to, and that wasn't really intentional. I did try to add stairs up to this 4th story, to this like just book reading room. There's plenty of these little nooks and spaces throughout the whole castle, but I figured if someone does want to go up here, you can teleport your sim, and if your sim is like a vampire or something, they can just fly up there. It's just going to be someone's secret little spot. Because this isn't a wedding venue or anything, I didn't go all out with this space, but I wanted it to be nice and simple and just sort of reflect the location that they're at. This is great for history buffs, maybe someone who's a part of that chess team. This is the official event space, and I wanted, if I had more space, I wanted that to be like a sweetheart table and then 2 tables there for the guests, but I really wanted a bar also. So I took away that table and added a bar because, you know, the Sims, they're gonna love that. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. If you want to download this build, it is called Von Haunt Castle in the gallery. And if you enjoyed watching this, please consider subscribing. That would be really cool. Or give this video a thumbs up. Maybe tell your friends and family about this channel. No, you don't need to do that. But thanks again for watching. Okay, bye.